Welcome back to the One Family Podcast, where we encourage and equip families for the marriage and parenting journey. Each week, we share practical insights and real-life encouragement to help strengthen relationships, navigate challenges with confidence, and build a home environment where love and connection thrive. With Father's Day coming up, we thought it would be a great time to revisit a teaching that had a profound impact on our family. Years ago, we were introduced to the Father's Mandate. It's from the Growing Kids God's Way program by Gary and Anne-Marie Ezzo. This teaching outlines 8 intentional practices that help fathers build stronger relationships with their children by building something every child desperately needs, a relationship of trust. When most people think of fathers, they think of them as providers, protectors, disciplinarians, or maybe even the fun parent. And while those roles are certainly important, we've learned that a father's greatest influence comes through connection and trust. When children trust their dad, they're more likely to seek his wisdom, ask difficult questions, share in their struggles, and invite them into the most important areas of their lives. Today, we're going to cover the first 4 intentional practices, or essentials, from the Father's Mandate and share how we applied them with our sons.
What I appreciate most about this teaching is how practical it is. These aren't complicated parenting theories. They're simple habits and intentional choices that help fathers build trust over time. For moms, many of these things may seem instinctual, and they're already part of your motherhood journey. However, for dads, it seems to take a little more effort, more creativity, and intention. At least that's how Rich felt at times. And while today's focus is on dads, moms play a very important role. Many of the ideas we'll talk about today are things Rich implemented, but often through conversations we had together. Parenting is strongest when husbands and wives support each other and work as a team.
The first intentional practice is that a father needs to cultivate a strong family identity. For our family, that often sounded like 3 simple words: we're the Howards. I wanted our boys to understand that being a Howard meant something, not because our family was so special, but because every family should have values and character traits that define who they are. So maybe after a game, I might say to the boys, "Way to show what gracious winners the Howards are." Or maybe after helping someone, I'd point out how kindness is a part of who we are, being the Howards. And after the family vacation, we'd talk about what a great Howard family adventure we had. Over time, those simple statements and conversations help create a sense of belonging and purpose. Because children naturally ask 2 questions. Who am I? And where do I belong? Family identity helps answer both.
One of the benefits of family identity is that it creates security. Children gain confidence when they know the positive values and virtues their family stands for. They feel part of something special, something that's bigger than themselves. Traditions play a big role in that. One of my favorite Howard family traditions started when Rich turned one of our Christmas card photos into a blanket. That blanket became part of movie nights and family gatherings for years. The blanket itself wasn't important. What mattered is what it represented. It reminded us that we belong together. Every family can create traditions that reinforce connection. They don't have to be elaborate, and often it's the simple things that children remember most.
The second intentional practice is one that had a significant impact on our boys. A father must regularly demonstrate love to his wife. One of the greatest gifts a father can give his children is a healthy marriage. When children consistently see dad loving mom through everyday gestures of kindness and affection, they feel secure. They learn what commitment and respect look like. And they gain confidence knowing that their family is built on a strong foundation. Years ago, I made a simple decision. Whenever I came home from work or a business trip, I always greeted Shelly first. Not because the boys weren't important, but because I wanted them to see that our marriage mattered and that it was a priority.
And honestly, that one habit communicated more than either of us realized. The boys saw consistency, affection, and respect. As they got older, another tradition developed around learning each other's love languages. we actually posted everyone's primary love language on the refrigerator. Rich would intentionally look for ways to demonstrate my love language in front of the boys and sometimes involve them in the process. These moments taught them something important. Healthy relationships require intentionality. Love isn't just something you feel, it's something that you choose to demonstrate.
So whether your children are young or grown, they're always watching us and looking for cues. Remember, as we've mentioned many times before, more is caught than taught. If we want our children to understand healthy relationships, they need to see them modeled consistently. The third intentional practice may be one of the most important ones for building trust. A father needs to respect a child's private world. We spoke on this in more detail in episode 5 a few weeks ago. Every child has an inner world filled with hopes, fears, dreams, disappointments, questions, and insecurities. Access to that world isn't automatic. It's earned. The challenge is that you never know when your child is going to invite you in. It might happen in the car, at bedtime, while doing chores, at a sporting event, or maybe during one of those unexpected moments when they decide to open up. When that invitation comes, many parents make the same mistake. We immediately begin trying to fix things. We start problem solving or looking for a teaching moment.
And usually long before our child is ready for any of that. What children often need first is someone who will simply listen. They need to know they're heard and understood. They need to know they're safe sharing what's on their heart. When parents respond with empathy instead of immediate correction, children become more willing to share again in the future.
One of the most valuable parenting lessons I learned was that active listening builds trust. There's always time to give advice later on, but in the moment, listening is often the most powerful response. Trust grows one conversation at a time. The fourth intentional practice is one that can be difficult for both moms and dads. A father must give his children the freedom to fail. For many children, disappointing dad actually hurts more than failure itself. Maybe some of you listening can relate to that from your own childhood. Over the years, I learned that encouragement was usually more effective than any type of criticism, constructive or otherwise. When the boys experienced setbacks, I tried to focus on growth rather than failure. One of our family values was striving to reach our God-given potential. And reaching your potential always involves challenges, mistakes, and adversity. That's just part of the process.
One thing we tried to do was share our own stories, not just our successes, but also our failures and disappointments, the mistakes we made and what we learned from them. Children need to know that growth is just a normal thing. Struggle is normal and learning is normal. It's part of being human.
Failure isn't something to fear. In many ways, it's one of God's greatest tools for growth and maturity. When children know their value isn't tied to performance, they become more willing to take healthy risks, learn from mistakes, and persevere through challenges. That's where confidence comes from. Not from never failing, but from learning that failure doesn't define you.
As we look back, none of these principles required perfection. They simply required intentionality. Building trust takes time, consistency, and partnership.
Some of these practices came naturally to me. Others, they required a lot more effort. But over time, they helped create stronger relationships with our boys. And that's really the goal. It's not perfect parenting. It's strong relationships. It's children who feel loved, valued, understood, and secure.
Next week, we'll continue with part 2 and cover 4 more practical ways fathers can deepen their influence and strengthen trust with their children, as well as how moms can strengthen their influence too.
Thanks for joining us today on the One Family Podcast. We hope this conversation encouraged you and gave you some practical ideas that you can apply in your own family this week. And if today's episode was helpful, would you share it with another parent or maybe a grandparent?
Until next time, remember that small intentional investments made consistently over time produce the greatest results in our families. Have a wonderful Father's Day, and we'll see you next time on the One Family Podcast.